Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're digging into a really powerful framework for raising kids. It's all built around this one big idea called internal capital. And what that means is building something inside a child that, can never be lost, stolen, or even taxed. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle this idea of a truly lasting inheritance. Then we'll dive into the internal capital trinity, the three main pillars. From there, we'll get into the physics of learning, how to do it without burnout. Then we'll ask, what's the goal here? The answer is something called maximum optionality. And we'll wrap up by looking at the parent's role as the architect of it all.
Okay, let's get right into it. And we're going to start by really challenging a big core assumption we all have about what it means to leave a legacy for our kids.
So many of us spend our lives working to leave our kids things, right? A paid-off house, some money in the bank, maybe some good connections. But the central idea we're exploring today is that all of that stuff, it's just external. It's like the temporary scaffolding you see around a skyscraper while it's being built. It's not the actual solid building of the person themselves.
And this right here, this is the core conflict. On one hand, you've got that external inheritance, the assets, the money. It's fragile, it can all disappear, just like a house of cards. But on the other hand, you have internal capital. We're talking about their attitude, their skills, their education. That stuff becomes a permanent part of who they are. It can't be taken away. So here's the really crucial point, and it's a tough one. When a child gets all these external advantages but doesn't have the internal strength to handle them, what happens? It's not gratitude. It's this quiet, gnawing insecurity. They feel like an imposter, totally incompetent to manage what they've been given. See, the real inheritance isn't money, it's competence.
Okay, so if that's the what, the next logical question is how? How do you actually build this internal capital? What are the components? Because this isn't just some vague idea of, be a good person. Nope, it's a very specific, deliberate architecture.
And before we lay out the pieces, it's really important to get this one thing. Think of it like an integrated system, not just, a random checklist of good traits. So the framework gives us three pillars, and the order is key. It all starts with attitude. That's the foundation, right? The bedrock of character. But here's the twist. You don't build attitude by lecturing your kids. No way. You build it through the vehicle of skills, by actually doing things, by the hands-on pursuit of getting really good at something. And the whole journey, it's guided by education, which is basically the map for the road ahead.
So let's zoom in on that foundation, attitude. It's broken down into four clusters. First up, drive and resilience. That's the engine. The ability to act and bounce back from failure. Then you've got ethics and reliability. Basically, being someone others can count on. Next is wisdom and perception, seeing the world as it actually is. And finally, there's adaptability and innovation, for when things, inevitably, don't go according to plan.
And remember that key idea we just talked about? These attitudes, they don't just appear out of nowhere. They're forged in the fire of pursuing actual skills. And the framework points to four key pillars of mastery. You've got STEM for technical problem solving, sports for physical discipline and versatility, art and music for that creative, captivating power, and finally, financial and legal literacy. You got to know the rules of the game, right? Getting good at this stuff, that's what builds character.
And that brings us to the third piece, education, the map. The whole idea here is to stop teaching subjects in separate little boxes. Instead, you use history as the master timeline. It's the glue that holds everything together. And on that timeline, you layer everything else. Geography tells you about the stage where it all happened. Economics explains the incentives, why people did what they did. Philosophy helps you understand their mindset. And biography gives you that critical human element. Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds incredibly intense, right? Like, are we trying to create some kind of burned-out super kid? Well, no. And the key is understanding the unique physics of how a child learns.
Think about it like this. A machine, any machine, can never be more than 100% efficient. You always lose energy to friction and heat. But a child isn't a machine. If you set it up right, their learning process can actually generate more energy than it consumes. The output, the pleasure, the excitement, the fun, can be way greater than the input of effort. And what does that mean? It means they can finish learning something and feel more energized than when they started, not exhausted.
So how do you pull that off? It comes down to mastering three efficiencies. First, there's emotional efficiency. You have to make learning feel like a game. Second, perceptual efficiency. They need to see their progress. It has to be visible and tangible, so they know their effort is paying off.
And third, temporal efficiency. This one's huge. You start early so you can trade intensity for time. And this is where what's called the Trojan horse strategy comes in. It's brilliant. You don't sit a kid down and say, "Time for your math drills." No, you bring the math into their world. So you're not counting apples, you're counting monster soldiers going into battle. Suddenly, arithmetic isn't a chore, it's war strategy. You're hiding the hard skill inside a soft, fun layer of play. It just removes all the friction.
And that whole approach really leans on starting early, because you're tapping into the absolute superpower of an infant's brain. A skill that you learn at age 3, it just becomes second nature, like breathing. And listen, this isn't about winning some kind of parenting race. It's about exiting the race entirely. It's about building a foundation so solid, so deep, that they never have to feel that awful pressure of catching up.
So, what's the end game here? What's the ultimate goal of all this work? Is it to churn out a specific type of person? Like, are we trying to build a future CEO, or an artist, or a scholar?
The answer is a hard no. The world just changes way too fast to train a kid for one specific job. So the goal isn't specialization. The goal is maximum optionality. And I love this analogy. You're not building a race car designed for one perfect track. You're building an all-terrain vehicle, something that can handle any path, any challenge. It's about giving them the absolute freedom to pivot, to master new things, and to design their own life, no matter what the terrain looks like.
And what that means in practice is that every single bit of internal capital you help them build today, it's like an investment that pays off in pure freedom tomorrow. It's prepaying for all the crucial assets that make up a flourishing life. We're talking everything from physical health and financial independence, all the way to the ultimate luxury, complete, total ownership of their own time.
All right, so that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. What is the parent's role in this whole ambitious project? Well, it really requires a fundamental shift in how we see our job.
And to explain this, there's one last really powerful metaphor. Think of it like this. Every single child is born with a unique engine. Some are like these high-torque engines built for steady grinding power. Others are high RPM engines built for speed and agility. And here's the key. Neither one is better. They're just different.
Now, here's where we often get it wrong. We think education is the fuel for that engine, but it's not. The child's power, their drive, that's innate. Education is the custom-built gearbox. It's the mechanism that lets their unique engine apply its power in the right way, at the right time, across all the varied and unpredictable terrain of life. It teaches them when to shift from first gear to second to overdrive.
Because think about it, what happens without that gearbox? Even the most powerful engine in the world will fail. It'll stall out on life's steep climbs, or it'll burn out on the fast, flat stretches. Being stuck in a single default gear is it's not enough to navigate the incredible complexity of the real world.
And so that leaves us with this final, really provocative thought. As the architect of your child's education, the question isn't just, how powerful is my kid's engine? The real question is this. You know their engine better than anyone. Are you consciously designing and building them the right gearbox, the one that will truly unlock all of their unique power for the long journey ahead?